Okay then, peoples of the internet, what is going on, and welcome back to another game programming tutorial using SDL and OpenGL. So we're going to start off by cleaning up a little bit of what we did last time. I forgot to put these in, just discovered now as I uploaded the video. We're going to call SDL quit to make sure that we're safely exiting from SDL when we stop running, and return 0 so that we know we haven't quit because of errors in the program. So now we're going to get around to actually using OpenGL to draw with. So we're going to draw like some very basic shapes today. But we're going to start off by initializing it. We're going to need to put a couple of functions in this to tell OpenGL how we want to use it. So as you can see here, I declared a function called init, stands for initialize. You can call it initialize if you want. I'm lazy, so I'm calling it init. So we're going to make a clear color, and you can just copy what I do, or you can do something else. What this is going to do is it's going to say where there's no shapes at all, this is the color we want. So I've set it to black. It's traditional RGB for the parameters, red, green, blue. And the fourth parameter is the alpha channel, which is basically how see-through it is. But of course we're using a black color, so it makes no difference. So next we need to set the matrix mode. The matrix mode is basically the way we want OpenGL to render the vertices and whatnot of shapes that we send to it, and we're going to set that to a GL projection for now. We'll get into using different ones such as GL model view very later on. We're going to call something called GL load identity. You got to make sure that you don't call this anywhere else in your program, because this basically resets everything to their default position on the matrix. So now we're going to do the main part of this, and we're going to set up the GL orthographic view. So what we're going to want to do here is we're going to put in these parameters. There's lots of parameters that we can put in here, but we don't really need to know every single one of them right now. The important ones here are that you have this 120 by 720 as your third and fourth parameter, because they are the height and width of the window. And as a general rule, you want that to match the size of the window you just done. And then you can just copy what I do here, and we're going to enter in those numbers. We'll go more into depth in this as we move on to using a GLE perspective and other things like that. So we're now going to just call this initialize. We need to call this outside the running variable, because as I said, the load identity, which I just pointed out with my finger, the load identity we only want to call once in our program, and if we have it in a while running loop, we're going to run into issues. So now we're going to create something called a draw function. So let's just do that. Now what the draw function is going to do is it's basically just going to do all our drawing. So again, we are going to need to do a little bit more setup into this one. We can't do this in the initialize because this needs to be done in the game loop. So we're going to do GL clear, GL color underscore the buffer bit. We talked a little bit about buffers last time. Basically what this is going to do, it's going to clear the buffer so that we don't have, so that when we move on to the next frame in the program, the old frame is deleted, basically. So then going to call something called GL flush, which basically kind of does the same, deletes the data off the screen that we've just called, but it's a bit different. Oh, my window's resized. You guys can't quite see the bottom, and I can't scroll down. That's a little bit annoying. Oh well. What we'll do is we're going to start. Well, first let's put this in our main game loop. It doesn't really matter where you put it. You can put it anywhere in your main game loop, just as long as it's not within any of the kind of whiles and if statements. We just want it to be in the running loop. It doesn't have to be in any order. So here we're gonna draw a simple cube, let's say. Not cube, square. Oh, it's summer holidays. You lose your intelligence fast. So we're going to put GL begin, GL quads. This is going to tell OpenGL that we're beginning to draw a quadrilateral to the screen. And then we could GL end there just to tell it that we're going to stop drawing a quadrilateral there. So in between here, we now need to tell OpenGL the actual vertices. So we're going to call something GL vertex 2f, and then we're going to copy this out 4 times. And now we're going to need to input the all 4 coordinates of the 4 vertices on our square. So I'm just going to start at 0, 0, and we're going to put like 500, 0, 500, 500, and 0, 500. Now normally what this would do is it would be in the bottom left hand side of our screen, and it would be, and the cube would be going up, if you get what I mean. But that's not actually what's going to happen here. I'm just quickly seeing if I can get this thing open. There we go. We got the normal window size back. So now we've got all of that set up again, and your guys' view has been off-putted now. You can't see the line numbers. Oh well. If we actually try to run this, you're going to notice something. Well, first thing, you're going to notice it doesn't work. This might be because we need to include glut instead. Please do excuse. If this doesn't work, I will just pause the recording for a second while I just get this running. Okay, we've got one too many parameters, it would seem. Yeah, that should be right actually, but we'll just change it to be that. It's not working. I'll come back in a second with it finished, hopefully. Okay guys, sorry about that. I did just answer this question, but recording messed up, so I'm answering it for the second time. The issue was, some of you may notice I wandered over onto this file for some reason and started playing about with this. I'm actually going to need to change that back now because that's important. So yeah, just ignore that if that confused you. The issue was here we'd put a comma instead of a dot, so it was classing 2 zeros as separate parameters. But anyway, moving on, we can now build and run the program. It should be working now. We can get rid of this include glut. We didn't need that. That was just me playing about. I wanted to try and find out what the issue was. We're going to run this. And again, as I mentioned in the previous video, this frame rate in the top left you guys won't have. In fact, I'll turn that off next time because that could be confusing. But the last thing I want to comment on here is how you'd expect the square to be coming from the bottom left and going upwards, except it's actually coming from the top left and going downwards. The reason for this is because in OpenGL, the y coordinate, the y-axis is inverted, so going down the y-axis is increasing the y value, going up the y-axis is decreasing it. It sounds confusing, but you will get used to it. I find using y-axis the correct way quite difficult now because I've used this so much. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Next time we'll move on to using colors and stuff to make this all look nice. We might move on to using some translations, and then perhaps soon we'll start actually moving on to making a very basic game. So yeah, that's it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.